Hi there. I'm so glad that you're joining me for art today. As some of you know, it takes some practice to have neat handwriting. Sometimes my handwriting is super messy and it doesn't look good. Other times it looks pretty neat. And it all depends on your attention and your focus. So I actually bought myself this book. It's called Lettering and Modern Calligraphy. And I bought this because I wanted to work on making my handwriting nice. But when I started using it, I tried to do it on my own and just read all the stuff on how to do it. And then I tried to do the practice. And while it looks kind of nice, it doesn't look like theirs. And so I actually started a class with my friend the other day. And then I followed along and I did the instructions that they gave me. And I was able to make it look a lot nicer. So I'm going to show you kind of some of my writing that I've been able to practice after that. And so you'll see at first it's just a bunch of lines and zigzags, and it gets better as I go on. And so you can see here that these letters look a lot better than my other letters in my other book, and they actually look more like the letters. You can actually see them side by side so you can see what I'm talking about. So you can see the green letters are a little bit more accented and the right shape versus the blue ones are just kind of blah. And so we were able to do that not with necessarily an instructor teaching us, but just by following a video and having them talk us through it. So that's what I'm going to be doing with you today, is kind of just getting you started and what it means to be lettering and how to really use the marker. So before we get started, I want to go over the materials that you'll need in order for this to be the best practice for you. So when I did the activity, it was telling me I needed these fancy markers. I didn't have them and they're really expensive. But I've learned that these Crayola markers are perfect. So if you have these, you'll actually find that the tip is nice and fat, and so we actually do want that fat tip. I know there's also the fine markers. If you have any of these fat Crayola markers, they're the best. Another thing that you're going to need is a notebook. If you had me for 7th grade STEAM, you should still have your notebook with some nice gridded paper. You can see I've been using this for my daily practice of writing things because I have to practice for me to maintain being able to write and just remember how the letters go. If you have just a regular line notebook, that's fine too. If you only have white paper, that'll work, but it's a little bit hard if you don't have lines to kind of guide, because that's going to tell us where to stop the letters. The last thing you'll need is just a flat surface, somewhere where you can really focus and make sure you're writing nice and neat and slowly. Make sure you have all the materials that we need. So that's our markers, and then our notebook of some sort. If you only have one color, that's totally fine too. Pause. Pro tip, if you can have a separate drawing/art book, that's awesome, and that would be the best because it helps you kind of segment what you're doing. So for example, I have a journal for when I'm writing about my thoughts. I have another notebook for when I'm doing meditation stuff, and this is actually just my art notebook. So if you have an old STEAM notebook, that's fine to dedicate it for that, or if you just have an extra notebooks lying around, make it your art book. The book we're using today is called A Beginner's Guide, Lettering and Modern Calligraphy by the Peony Press. I do not own these words. I am using this book. Okay, so getting started, we're going to be going over some terminology, and that's just when I'm speaking about different parts. I want to make sure you understand what they are. So it looks like a lot, but it's not really that much. So downstroke really is anytime you're going down. So anytime we're doing downstrokes, it's always going to be these thick lines. An upstroke is always going to be a soft point. So think of when you're doing an upstroke, it's going to be a point versus a downstroke is going to be a fat line. Cross-stroke is going to be like a T, and that's going to also be a thin line. An ascender refers to the part that's above the mean. This is the mean line. That's what we need line paper. And then the descender is anything that's going down below the baseline. So think of G's and Y's that are lowercase. The letter form, it just means how the shape of the letter is. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in.